Hey, good morning. What's going on? Today marks the halfway point for me for radiation treatment. So I am 3 weeks into the 6 week treatment. And so there's a part of me that's feeling really good about that. And then, to be honest, I woke up this morning feeling a little bit afraid, scared, because I had decided that at the halfway point, I was going to run half a marathon. And so this morning, I'm going to head to the gym and I'm going to attempt to run half of a marathon. But to be honest, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if my body can do it. And so I leave this morning a little bit afraid. And when I ask myself, what am I afraid of? I mean, this is a self imposed goal that I'm putting on myself. Uh, I'm just afraid to give my best and to still fail. My body is not at its best. There's so much that it's going through. But there's something emotionally tied to this that just makes me want to be able to run half of a marathon this morning. And so here we go.
Okay, I wanted to come at you right after my morning run. So just doing my stretching right now. I just finished a half marathon, but I want to let you know it was not easy. I am not smiling right now. I just had 2 days of recovery over the weekend where I took it easy, but those 2 days weren't easy. Treatment's getting tough, and so I was not feeling well over the weekend. And this morning, heading into this run, I was a little scared, like I mentioned before. And as I started running, I felt pretty good. And it's interesting, as I run, the headaches go away, the nausea goes away, and I feel almost normal. I mean, it's uncomfortable, but anyway, as I went, I passed that 10K mark where I once had a seizure and I felt good. I passed the 10-mile mark, but as I was heading into the last 3 miles, man, it just felt like forever. And I know that I don't have anything to prove. And I knew that I could stop. I felt safe. My body felt like it could handle it. My muscles felt like it could handle it. I knew I had nothing to prove, but I wanted to improve. Not just the distance that I could run, but the discipline that I have for all my physical areas of life, but also my spiritual areas of life as well. I want to improve mentally. I thought about my friend that I used to run with that just did a marathon this past weekend, and he did a trail marathon, which is brutal. And we used to be running partners, and he was always more mentally strong than I was. And watching him complete that trail marathon inspired me, and I wanted to do the same. I wanted to keep going, even though I didn't want to keep going. Then I thought about mentor in ministry. When I first started out in ministry, a pastor that taught me the ropes, he rode 100 miles on his bike in my honor this past Saturday. And he inspired me to want to just keep going in that same way. And there's something about hitting the halfway point that is encouraging and discouraging at the same point for me. Because halfway it feels like, oh, okay, if I've come this way, this far, I can just do this again. But in my case, especially with treatment, the first half is flat, but the second half is at a steady incline. It gets harder and harder as it goes. And so it feels like the halfway point is really, the end's not in sight. It's just hill. And so I felt like as I was running today, especially those last 3 miles, I felt like I was out in the desert just trucking up a hill. And I thought about all the people in the waiting room with me that are in a similar situation. We've just got to hold on. And I think about my daughter, that at some point in her life, she's going to face adversity where she's just got to hold on. And I think about the people that watch these videos that all have different struggles, that some of them need to just hold on. And some of you have gone through times like this and you have held on. and you have learned that what Jesus has promised is true, that in our weakness, his grace is sufficient. So when we are weak, we're actually strong. And I'm testing him at this. I'm taking his word for that. I'm taking his word that when I am weak, I am strong. And so I'm pressing on. And I think I'm finding that what I thought was strength isn't quite what Jesus considers strength. And so if you've learned that lesson in the past, will you do me a favor? Will you comment what you learned about what true strength is in times of weakness? I think it would help me out right now and a lot of other people. All right, well, I got to get to the hospital and I got to get to treatment. So let's see. Like I said, I'm not smiling right now. That was a tough run. But typically, getting up and getting out, I bounced back, and I'm glad that I did. So we'll see how that turns out.
So I definitely wasn't smiling when I got to the hospital. As I walked those hallways, they looked even more drab than usual. And usually when I get my blood drawn, I talk with the people stabbing my veins with the needles. But today, I was just silent. And before getting to the waiting room, I ducked into a bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I saw that this spot right here, where the radiation beams enter my skull and hit my brain, the hair is disappearing there. And I just looked weak. I felt weak and fatigued from the run that I just did. And I didn't want to go in for another session of radiation therapy. But I did. Mostly because I didn't have a choice. But I did. And on the way out of the radiation therapy session, as I walked by the waiting room, something happened. I saw a guy who just got bad news a few days ago, who cried with us in the waiting room, and he had a huge smile on his face. Now, the news hasn't changed at all, but just over the weekend, he had some time to gain some perspective with his wife, and he was back with all of us who are going through the same thing that he's going through, and he had a box of Girl Scout cookies, the mint chocolate chip grasshopper Girl Scout cookies that I love, and he shared a couple with me, and that lifted my mood as well. And as I was leaving the hospital, I thought about two things. I thought, number one, exercise makes you weaker, but then makes you stronger. And now that I've had some lunch and I've taken a nap, I feel great. I'm really glad that I ran that half marathon earlier on today. And although in the morning it made me feel more fatigued, now I have more energy as a result. And the doctors keep telling me, keep running, keep doing what you're doing. It actually helps you fight back the side effects of radiation and chemo. So that's the first thing that I learned. The second thing that I learned is you gain strength from the community around you only if you're willing to allow them to see you weak. And so this is an area that I want to grow in. That's why in this video, I allowed you just to see those moments in the gym of how hard it was to pull off the half marathon and the thoughts that I'm having about treatment, those kind of lower moments, because they're real. They're real, and you all are supporting me, and I hope that you're gaining inspiration from me as well. But I wanted to show you my weakness, and I want to ask you, what's keeping you from revealing your weakness to others? Because if you've got a community of people around you that truly love and care for you, then when they see you weak, they'll be a part of your strength and building you up. So we'll see what God brings next time. I have no idea what lays ahead as treatment continues to get more and more difficult for me, but let's do this together and we'll figure out what we're going to do with this bad boy right here. All right? I'll see you guys soon.